All right, everybody, what is up? It's another episode of Stand Tall. It is February 13th. Feeling a little bit better. Just got done sawing a bunch of wood covered in sawdust in a hurry, so gonna get right to it. We're in chapter 7, verse 13. We are not fit to lead an army on the march unless we are familiar with the face of the country, its mountains and forests, its pitfalls and precipices, its marshes and swamps. So I like that because you can't lead an army just by being a good leader. You have to know the terrain, right? You have to know, actually I was thinking about this. It's so crazy that just like works out. I was thinking about Patrick Bet-David and how he read his book and how he talks about in the insurance industry. And then I started thinking about Alex Hormozi and some of his talks and how he talks about, like you have these skills and you can like put them together and you can build on them. And like you shouldn't expect to be like really good at something right out the gate, right? Because it would be unreasonable for you to be like a master immediately at whatever it is you do. It takes time, it takes patience, it takes effort. And to be a general, to be a leader, you have to know a lot of things. You can't just be a good leader and a good general. You have to know the terrain. You have to know where you're going. You have to know the country. You have to have experience, especially in those days. You can't just pull up Google Maps. You have to have done it a couple of times. You have to have been on the battlefield before. So let's go over to an alternate translation and see what Master Sun says in alternate translations. Unless you know the mountains and forests, the defiles and impasses, and the lay of the marshes and swamps, you cannot maneuver with an armed force. Unless you use local guides, you cannot get the advantages of the land. Li Kuan says to this, when you go into enemy territory, you need local people to guide you along the most convenient routes, lest you be hemmed in by mountains and rivers, get bogged down on swampy ground, or lack access to springs and wells. This is what I Ching means when it says, chasing deer without a guide only takes you into the bush. Zhang Yu says, only when you know every detail of the lay of the land can you maneuver and contend. Mei Yaochen says, local guides can be captured or recruited, but it is best to have developed professional scouts, who need not be people of a specific area. So you have to have those skills, right? Like your scouts is an allegory in this context for your skills, right? You have to have skills in that particular area of expertise. All right, so let's go over here to the Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday and Stephen Hanselman and see what happens when we fuse Eastern warfare philosophy with Western Stoicism. February 13th, pleasure can become punishment. Whenever you get an impression of some pleasure, as with any impression, guard yourself from being carried away by it. Let it await your action. Give yourself a pause. After that, bring to mind both times. First, when you have enjoyed the pleasure, and later you will regret it and hate yourself. Then compare the joy and satisfaction you'd feel for abstaining altogether. This is powerful. However, if a seemingly appropriate time arises to act on it, don't be overcome by its comfort, pleasantness, and allure. But against all of this, how much better the consciousness of conquering it. Epictetus in curating 34. Wow. That just to me says a lot of, just to be real, like a lot of pornography, masturbation, smoking weed, drinking alcohol, going out and partying, playing video games, watching TV. These are all things that not necessarily make you a bad person, but if you take them to an extreme, like he's saying here, and you don't give pause and you just kind of like mindlessly do it. That's the other thing is we have to like watch out for just doing it because, we feel like doing it, we have to, the more that you can abstain from it, the more pleasure you're going to get later because of how much stronger you are mentally. And again, like I know I said a lot of things, but like it's not bad, and you shouldn't feel bad if you're watching a TV show, or you shouldn't feel bad if you're enjoying a video game or reading a fiction book. That's not, like you should enjoy the fruits of life because we live in such a beautiful time where there's so much to be enjoyed. There's so many books to read. There's so many places to go, so much places to travel. But at the same time, drinking to excess, smoking marijuana to excess, smoking cigarettes to excess, masturbating to excess, all of this stuff, watching TV to excess, video games to excess, like all of these things can have a really big detriment on your life if you don't control those impulses. Self-control is a difficult thing, no question, which is why a popular trick from dieting might be helpful. Some diets allow a cheat day, 1 day per week in which dieters can eat anything and everything they want. Indeed, they're encouraged to write a list during the week of all the foods they've craved so they can enjoy them all at once as a treat. The thinking being that if you're eating healthy 6 out of 7 days, you're still ahead. At first, this sounds like a dream, but anyone who's actually done this knows the truth. Each cheat day, you eat yourself sick and hate yourself afterwards. Soon enough, you're willingly abstaining from cheating at all, because you don't need it and you definitely don't want it. It's not unlike a parent catching a child with cigarettes and forcing him to smoke the whole pack. It's important to connect the so-called temptation with its actual effects. Once you understand that indulging might actually be worse than resisting, the urge begins to lose its appeal. In this way, self-control becomes the real pleasure, and the temptation becomes the regret. Yeah. So as far as Sun Tzu and the Art of War is concerned, we have to know what our temptations are in order to be a leader, in order to conquer, right? We have to know the lay of the land. We have to know these things. We have to have been there before. We have to have done it before. And going on a diet or going on a video game fast or a TV fast, like, it might seem scary and it might be hard at first, but as he says, as it goes on, it becomes rewarding. And so the more experience you get, the harder you work, the more you focus on your skill set, the more rewarding your life is.